tell you a little bit about our guest today. His name is Edem Jimbo, aka Jimbolism. He's a Kenyan based in the US and an all-round artist and designer who has been referred to as the African Van Gogh. Now, this is very high praise, and I'm looking out forward to finding more, primarily because the work of Van Gogh was like a huge passion of mine when I was studying fine art at school. And for those of you who don't know the work of Van Gogh, to be told that you are the African Van Gogh is super, super, super high praise. So I kind of feel like Jimbolism is going to be an exciting guest. But before he joins us via Zoom, so how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I've been reading up and watching some videos of you, but I'd like to know, how do you describe yourself?
Okay. My name is Edem Jimbo. I'm originally from Kenya.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact, I was named after Edem Kojo from Ghana.
Yes, because I was wondering when I saw your name, I said, like, but this guy's an Ewe guy. But then as I read more, I was like, and apparently, and then I saw that you hate your name, Kojo. Why?
Because they used to call in Swahili, Kojo means urine. So they used to call me that when I was little.
Because you're born on Monday, right?
Yeah. When Edem Kojo, the OAU general, was in the minister of OAU was in Kenya in 1981. That's when I was born.
Okay.
So my parents, he was all over the news. So when they were looking for a name, they were like, "Let's call him Edem Kojo." So that's how that became my name.
And then you got teased forever as a youngster. Oh, that must have been.
Yeah, I got teased. I got so many nicknames. I don't have enough time.
Oh, but obviously it hasn't traumatized you too much because
No, not at all.
you
Not
seem
at
like
all.
a happy person.
Absolutely, yes. And actually, as we continue, I'll explain to you how I use situations around me to actually create something out of it as a creative, which is what I am.
Excellent. Okay, so usually we start off, I think knowing the kind of books that people read gives you an idea
Yes.
of who they are and so what are you reading from? What book are you reading or what poem, what are you reading for us, and why did you choose this particular
Okay.
piece out of everything else?
Okay, great. Um, right now, I mean, obviously, there's a movement with more Black people taking ownership of different fields and industries, right? Which is
Exactly.
why I was really excited about you reaching out to me and wanting to share my story, right? So there's a Jamaican poet that I met in New York, and he writes amazing poetry that's really short, simple, that really works with this generation, right? Because we're bombarded with so much content.
Exactly.
So it takes a certain level of skill to be able to write something like poetry, which is typically long, shorten it into bite-sized content, and be engaging. And a lot of his content is truth that we all know,
Is
but
it
he
is
puts
it
it in a way.
is it a little bit like a haku?
Yes, something like that. Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I like his work, especially on a show like this. I want to highlight someone like that because a lot of the creative work that I do, I collaborate with a lot of people that are around me and that I meet and that I randomly come across online.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the floor is yours. Let's hear this.
Okay, so I haven't. This is stuff that he uploads every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna pull up what the something he posted 38 minutes ago.
Okay. Oh, go. That's really
Okay.
current. Like, yeah.
Oh yes. So it goes. Think about it. Can you truly love yourself and consciously choose to stay in love with someone who is hurting you? I mean, that's something a lot of people go through,
Yeah.
and that's life, right?
Mm.
Because when you love someone else, I can just speak to this specific one. When you love someone else, you tend to give yourself up, and a lot of times people choose to stay in love beyond when they should, right? Because at some point, if someone doesn't love themselves, they cannot love you.
But you're talking about romantic love and not maybe familial love or
That's romantic love.
yeah,
Great. Now let's talk about career, right?
yeah,
You could be working somewhere where they're not showing you the respect you deserve for
yeah,
the work that you put in, but you
exactly.
continue to stay there out of loyalty.
Out of loyalty and also out of paying bills.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Because sometimes you do need to pay the bills. That's true. Not
Yeah,
sometimes, all the time.
all the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Okay.
so I think like this thing specifically to romantic love fully
Mm-hmm.
understood. But I think when it's other
Mm-hmm.
things like work or something like that, there are things sacrifices you have to make
Yes. Yes.
to be
And,
able
and that's true. Because the reality is, sometimes we end up working in places where we're not appreciated, right?
I think
But you
most
gotta pay.
places.
You gotta pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You got to pay
Yeah.
the bills, and there's also I think wealth gives you or should I say not wealth, I think work gives you a sense of worth as a person.
Yes. Yes. And that's why it's also very important for people to identify what their skills are and what
Exactly.
they want to put out into the workforce. So when you see people sometimes are unfulfilled at work, it could be a skills mismatch, and sometimes it's just luck, sometimes it's not luck, but that's the challenge of life. You have to figure out what works for you.
I think I would say, and I'm probably wrong, but it's a guesstimate. I would say at least over 90% of people are in jobs not because they like it, but they have to put food on the table and pay the bills.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the lucky few who get to do what they love and
Yes.
also feed their minds, their souls, and everything with it. But there's also a
Yes.
lot of sacrifice first. You see an artist, maybe somebody like you, and what we're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. We don't know
Hmm.
what happened under the water for us to see that beautiful tip, but there's a whole
Yeah.
lot going, on underneath there. So it's
Oh yeah.
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 But for romantic love, definitely.
Yeah.
People give themselves excuses, but there's
Hmm.
also a lot of fear as well involved, all types of
Yes.
fear. So yeah. But this
And
kind
family too, right?
family, yeah, yeah,
Family as well.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and with family, it's even worse because, uh, no, with family, it's even
As
worse.
blood.
Yeah, because as blood, it doesn't matter what I read in a book where they said there's a law for everything except for the crimes that families commit against each other.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I'm going to use that.
And yet we have to, how can you not love your mother or father? I mean,
Mhm.
it's unfathomable, and yet there are parents who've done horrendous evil things to their
So,
kids,
yes, yes.
and yet for us we
But
can. Mm-hmm.
I was watching a video yesterday about a young male choose the university that he wanted to go play sports in, and there was a couple of hats in front of him, and he chose one. And this was a live. It was live and broadcasted, and his mom saw he picked a different school, and she walked away. Yeah,
Yeah, instead of
yeah.
supporting him.
Supporting it, yes, that's a great. I was like, wow. But he stood there and he just sat there and just this is what I believe. This is what I want to do.
Yes,
So that's another great example of what you're saying.
but when the cameras went off, he cried his eyes out because
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
it's
Yeah,
a
that's mom.
it's a level of betrayal that you can't
Yeah.
take as a him. Anyway, that was beautiful. We are going to
Thank you.
go on to our next track, and once
Okay.
we listen to that track, we're going to get into the conversation proper. So we
Okay.
Actually, we played 2 tracks by you.
Okay.
The first, one of them, I couldn't even pronounce anybody's name in it. Um,
Which one was it?
is it Foyisa?
Yes, that's from Southern Africa.
DJ Mamforisa and Kabsa Di Small.
Yeah, you said it correct.
Oh wow. I was like, you know what? Don't go and butcher these people's names up before you find yourself on a hit list. Now, your t-shirt has Tombo written on it, which obviously is your company. We're going to talk about that. There's a song,
Okay.
Ban Piende.
Yep.
What's that song about? And obviously, if
Okay.
Tombo is there, it means you were involved in the creative process of that music.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So Tombo, if you don't mind, I can just give a brief overview.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shoe brand that's inspired by African music.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I use music as the inspiration to come up with the designs, and I'm using music as a part of narrating the story about the brand.
Okay.
Right? It's the first of its kind in
And
the
and for
you know
people
in
out there
especially
who don't know, Tombo is actually a shoe. Is it specifically a shoe line, or is it going to grow? Is the brand going to include other things?
the brand will grow into other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to my long-term vision for what Tombo will become is a storytelling company, right? So the shoe is just one form of communication. The
Mm-hmm.
music is another form of communication. Art, right? Because you see, I use artwork to really communicate the stories I'm trying to tell.
Okay.
That's what I need Tombo to become.
And how long has the company been around for?
Okay, I started just by customizing shoes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, I saw some
Um,
videos of people receiving their shoes and like super, super
Receiving
happy.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then one time I was thinking to myself, if I'm to buy this shoe, where could I buy it?
Uh-huh.
Nowhere. So I'm, you know what? Why not into making it? And I started that journey in 2017.
Okay. Okay.
So I started out by going to a shoe conference in Las Vegas, where I met a whole bunch of manufacturers. I started reading books. I got on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
bought books, and just kept reading, and I learned how complicated shoe making is. Because when I got in, I was naive. I didn't know how much it takes,
Yeah.
how much research it takes. But if there's anything that I will tell you about myself, is a challenge is something I will never back down from.
Excellent. Well, yeah. A challenge
Yeah.
is like, yeah, come on, bring it,
Yes.
and I will bring
Yes.
it.
So exactly. So Ban Piende is a theme song that I got created by a musician that I met on Instagram. I was just looking for someone who can make a traditional sound from Kenya, and I
Mm-hmm.
came across Makadem, and I reached out to him. I told him the story. He connected with the story, which is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
That I work with people that can connect to what I'm actually trying to say, right? And I'm hoping that is what also that's what also passes on to the consumer and everyone at large. It's about connecting.
Excellent. Edem.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. What do you think of Manifest music? I mean, I'm a huge fan.
It's talented.
Huh?
Clearly, you are. I mean, Manifest is talented.
Yeah.
Vic Mensa as well, and I'm a lover of music,
Yeah.
big time, like big,
Yeah.
big, big, big time. Just I'm also the creative director for Afrima. Are you familiar with Afrima?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so Afrima has really exposed me to a lot of genres and a lot of musicians from different parts of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the diaspora, it's really important that we stay connected to Africa. And Afrima is like a bridge of connecting to our culture through music. And I can't wait for this year's award show as well. Last year was amazing. It was the first virtual concert we ever did,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just crazy of us to think of a concept, especially when people could not travel at the time,
Yeah.
And the theme for last year was Destination Africa. So it's basically we were taking you to Africa, and we went to
Virtually.
east, west, south, and I can't wait for this year. So
When is that?
music
When is it on for this
in
year?
my heart.
Pardon?
November.
November. Okay, so people can
Yes, yes,
be gearing themselves up to it. Tell me,
yes, absolutely.
when did you know art was going to be your life?
Oh my gosh, when I was like 8 or 10 years old.
What trick?
Yeah, there was no actually. The way I started was my neighbor had drawn this bus
Mm-hmm.
that used to drive in front of our house in Kenya. And I tried to copy his drawing. It could never quite look like his. And I kept trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And then I was in school one day and my friend saw it and said, "Oh my gosh, who did that?" I'm like, me. He said, "That is so good." I was like, "Hmm, okay, I guess I got this."
What
And
what
then
what was the trigger? What was the? I mean, okay, you saw a picture of a bus, but
I
what
was
what
like,
was
how
the
was he
trigger?
able?
What went off in your head?
I was like, how did he do this? Like I was like, it looks like it. And he was 12, 14 years old. He was not that much older than me. And
Okay.
I was just amazed that he was able to capture that bus that drives in front of our house in a picture. It just blew my mind.
And so when you at that age of 8, and then you
Hmm.
thought, oh my gosh, this, let me also try it, and then you tried, and then somebody that finally validated your work, your friend saying, wow, this is
Yes.
amazing. What
Hmm.
what how much did you know about, or you just decided that you wanted to draw? Was that the first thing you wanted, or which
Okay.
aspect of art was?
I The aspect of art that really made me fall in love with it was the ability to create my own world. So whatever was in my head,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just had to get it out. Then I could not stop drawing, right? I just couldn't stop. When I was 15, 17, 18, my mom would wake up, find me at 2, 3 in the morning. Aren't you supposed to be in bed? I'm drawing.
Mm.
So it was the ability to create my own world and put it on paper and wow someone and wow myself. And then the thrill was, wow, I get to do it again.
Were your parents supportive? Because usually the average African kid who's in love with art, often
Hmm.
one of their first obstacles are a family worried that they would not be able to make a living from this thing. and
Yep.
and then even though they might couch it as the words that come out might be, this is a waste of time or whatever, but the feeling behind the words are, we are afraid you might not be able to sustain yourself with this.
I know. Yep. I dealt with that too. And I was actually admitted to study law in South Africa. So you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
law, art, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Did you study law?
But
Did you study the law? Because I know a lot of friends who did, who studied what their parents wanted. Is like, let me just do this degree for you so that you get off my neck, and then I can do what I need to do for me.
absolutely not. I was not going down that route.
Uh-huh.
What I did was I got online and I started looking for universities in the United States. And
So,
I did my own research, and I found some that actually gave art scholarships.
mm-hmm.
So I got to work, started putting together a portfolio, started sending it out. Then one of the schools that actually the school that I went to, Drake University in Iowa, ended up giving me a art scholarship, and my education was half off. So my parents were able to supplement the rest of it. But I just see when they saw the commitment that
Mm-hmm.
there was no stopping. There was no stopping me.
How long did it, from your parents saying, listen, we want you to be a lawyer,
Hmm.
and you saying, I'm going
Hmm.
to do my research, and then you talked about putting together a portfolio. How long did it take to? How long did it?
One Less than a year.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, less than a year. I mean, I was pounding. I was online emailing. schools. I got multiple offers, so it's good that I had an option to pick the one that I like the most.
I I mean, what you're saying here, I think, is really important, especially for like young people who wanna, because culturally, obey your parents. They know what's best
Hmm.
for you. And then when a young person doesn't have any money or doesn't have
Yes,
much exposure, but to know that they can go to the internet cafe and diligently, or on
yes,
their phone diligently, if you really want it, you will be like water and find a way around your obstacles.
absolutely. And I'll tell you one other thing is, determination can really really push you, because part of the other agreement that we had was, I told him, you know what, I'm going to get a job there to help. I'm going to get a job there to help pay as well. So what I did was I started looking at the school
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what opportunities existed online, and I saw that they had a weekly newspaper, and I asked them, do you guys have an artist that does a weekly cartoon for your newspaper? They're like, no. I said, I'd like to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
before I even went to the school, I had the job already.
Oh,
Right.
nice. And they paid you?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
that's that's
So
a
it was about me finding any small opportunity, right? So I
mm-hmm.
could take the pressure off my parents and convince them and show them, look, I'm determined and I'm going for it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, I have a quote for you. It's from
Okay.
Ama Ataedu, who is like an African literary giant. And
Okay.
she says, the arts are the glue that holds society together. Now, if someone who is not into art, or is something that they don't feel it's part of their life, asked you to explain why that statement is true, how
Hmm.
would you explain to them?
Okay. I would easily ask them. I would explain it in a way that, what is the most precious record of history that exists?
Mm-hmm.
It's art. And what does art capture? Culture, right? Art captures culture. It captures the way people live, and art is all around you.
Mm-hmm.
The chair you're sitting on, the house you live in, the car you drive, that's an art form. It's all around you. So it amazes me when you want to get into the art field, right? And people say you're not going to make a living out of it. Everything around you, somebody drew,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all the infrastructure, somebody had to put it together. That is an art form. That's what really art builds society.
Yeah. It's the glue that holds society together.
Hmm.
Now, you're a creative director. You're an
Hmm.
artist. I've seen some of your videos on YouTube where you draw caricatures of specific people. Um,
Yes.
you're into cartooning, I'm sure. Motion.
Absolutely.
What don't you do? Maybe that might be the shorter list.
Wow. That, I get that a lot, actually. What don't you do?
Yeah.
See, I go by feel. If I feel like drawing a cartoon today, I'm drawing it. If I feel like, I just love being creative, and anything creative, sign me up.
Okay, then
It
this
is. Mhm.
this question, does this creative feed you and pay the bills?
Yes.
Perfect. Because I'm sure somebody's sitting there saying, ah, Charlie, this guy, he's there, he can paint, he can
Yes.
do this, he can do this because he no get problem. But
Now, that's perfect. So how on my YouTube series,
mm,
I have a plan to start putting together videos about how you can be a creative and pay your bills, right? Because right now I'm a creative director at a technology company as well, right? So
access?
yeah, access, yes.
Okay.
So I lead the video, web, and graphics team. All that is creative.
Mm,
So I get to lead the direction that the marketing team wants to take from a creative standpoint. When people think about Apple, what do they love about it? Oh, they have great marketing. That's creative, right?
Yeah.
So if you work with it, if you build that skill set,
Mm.
but the fundamentals of it are from the fine arts or whatever kind of art it is, you will be able to make a living. You just need to be strategic about which direction you're going to go and know that this is my direction, commit to it, and then learn from those who have done it better than you.
I think maybe one of the things, challenges we have here is that what we define as art is quite
Hmm.
limiting. And
Yes.
so when you see that it is like, oh, you can only do like 3 or 4 jobs that involves art. But once, for instance, the example you gave, once you spread it out, being a chef is artistic. The way you arrange a food on the plate is artistic.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
what you do with the flavors is artistic. And so I think maybe it's a matter of us getting people to understand that the definition of what they consider art is it has no boundaries.
It does not. And then be the best you can be. And you have to put in your 10,000 hours. There are no shortcuts.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
10,000 hours.
So,
And
I went to film school, and I remember I watched an interview by Akira Kurosawa. And this
uh-huh.
man is like legendary when it comes to filmmaking, especially Japanese filmmaking. And
Hmm.
in the interview, they were like, "So what now?" And he says, "I'm just beginning." And he'd been in the business for over 60 years doing amazing stuff. And so us as students sat there watching it and thinking, well, okay, there's no hope for us then if he's
There's no,
just starting. What about us? Yeah.
no, seriously. Even myself, I've been doing art for a long time, and I can just feel like, oh my gosh, it's all coming together just
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
years later.
Mhm.
And the direction I'm going, I'm starting out in the direction that I'm going. So I'm at the beginning.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Well, apart from the fact
so,
that if you get to the end of something, you're back at the beginning because you don't just
yeah,
stop there. You continue on a new journey.
I remember I was telling one of my friends a couple weeks ago that, 30 years from now, I want to, and they're like, 30 years? And I looked at them like, yeah, that's what a long term vision is. They just couldn't fathom that I'm thinking 30 years from today. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like forever when you
Oh, it goes fast though.
yeah, it does go. I mean, like this year, wasn't it like just
Ooh,
2 minutes ago it was January? Look where we are now.
yes, July.
Yeah, ready to fall straight into July.
Yes.
So, um, what other artistic skills do you have? And
Okay.
how do they influence your work now? In fact, maybe let me backtrack. Of
Okay.
everything you do,
Mm.
I'm sure you tell me it's not possible, but I'm still gonna ask anyway. Which specific art avenue speaks to you
Mm-hmm.
the most?
Painting.
Okay.
Yes, no doubt. Because, painting, um, it's so unique because I almost never know what the end product is going to look like.
Mhm.
I have a vision of
Mhm.
what it might look like,
Mhm.
but along the way, I discovered, there's moments and experiences that happen along the way that are just magical that I can't explain. So
Yeah.
it's still painting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not mechanical, right? Um, so when people ask me how long does it take, I have never known how long any painting takes. It's done when it's done.
It's a bit like writing.
Yes.
You can do something and then you hit a block and it has to sit somewhere for about 6 months for you to
Yes.
come and put
Yes.
fresh eyes onto it again, or you'd put fresh eyes and you think, damn, it's rubbish, go back to the beginning. But
Exactly.
you wouldn't have known.
I have a canvas here I've been staring at for 6 months that I haven't touched, but I know what I want to do with
but
it.
the when the time is right to do it,
Oh man.
you'll know
Woo.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
So the thing that really grabbed me the most
Uh-huh.
was you being referred to as the African Van Gogh. Now, listen, I studied fine art,
Uh-huh.
and my love was for Van Gogh, Cézanne,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
Toulouse-Lautrec,
Yes.
where it was like my everything. Yeah, Monet, Manet, Renoir, fantastic. The Impressionists, the Expressionists, go to museum, check them out. But it was Van Gogh's work that really spoke to me. Him, Cézanne, and Toulouse-Lautrec. And I'm like, this
Yes.
is a big deal. So I need
Yes.
to ask you, who and why do they refer you as the African Van Gogh? Because it's an incredibly high accolade, and does
It
it
is.
is it intimidating?
It's when people say you feel, that hollow feeling in your heart,
Hmm?
like, wow, that's how it feels. And it's incredibly encouraging that
But there was some
somebody can,
fear at some point, though, wasn't it? Because you do know,
no, no, no,
no, really, because like
no,
when, okay,
no, no, not really, because I know how much work I put in, and not just to say that it's me. I know everyone works hard,
yeah,
but I always find a way to um, stick to who I am, have a direction, which is really hard in this field,
mm-hmm.
and stick with it. Because I have met people that I did art with when I was much, much younger. And even when I was little, they always said, man, we just could not work you. So when somebody gives me a compliment like that, it's incredibly encouraging and inspiring as well, because we do need more Africans in example used as examples for
Mm-hmm.
the younger ones to look up to,
Yeah,
right? America has been, and Europe has been really great at marketing the artists from previous generations, but now we have platforms like yourselves, right,
mm.
that can market and talk about and promote Africans, African artists. So we can take control of our own narrative.
Yeah,
So when they say that, yes, because I cannot do what Van Gogh can do, but you know what? He can do what I can.
yeah, he's dead. But yeah, I get you.
Yes.
But then of
And,
course
and
you're.
the other one
Mm-hmm.
I got, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off,
no, no.
was
Continue.
when I met one of the executives from a huge retail company in America.
Mm-hmm.
I showed him I showed him my shoe project, and he called his friend right away and said, "Hey, I got the Black Phil Knight in my house."
Oh wow.
Phil Knight is the founder of Nike.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so I was like, "Whoa, slow down."
Okay, so we're talking now your shoe company. I really
Mhm.
like the story behind the Weekend Waka design, because
Yes.
it for me it just felt like a screenplay. It was
Hmm.
I noticed you had some other designs there. What are the stories behind the different
Okay.
designs?
So, being around the music industry, and it's the music industry is a creative industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was thinking about it, even as it relates to myself, you asked me earlier on about all my parents' reactions when I told them that I want to be
An artist.
I want to get into the arts, right? Then I was like, wow, what about somebody who's from the village,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they want to get into the arts, if they want to get into the music industry, they're going to be told no, right? Because your dad is maybe butcher, mom could be a housewife or has a different job.
Yeah.
I just thought like a lot of people can connect to that story
Mm-hmm.
from all parts of the world, right? and how can he create something out of that in a way that people can relate to and make them happy. So I was like, why not take that theme, especially right now with the way African music is growing and becoming more global.
Yeah.
I mean, in the diaspora right now, Afrobeats is hot, and it hasn't even hit its peak yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when the previous, uh, Fela and our forefathers set the table, now we have control over it, and especially with technology and the internet, it's more accessible to more people, and more people are discovering it.
Yeah.
So, if I could take a story like that and build it around a family, right? Not an individual, a family that does not believe in what she wants to achieve in life, become a professional dancer.
Mm.
Why not make them a dance group and take them touring around the world? Because I've also worked with a dancer called Sherry Silver. Do you know her?
No, I don't.
Okay, Sherry Silver is a dancer from Rwanda, and she choreographed the "This Is America" by Childish Gambino.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now that you've mentioned Childish Gambino, yes, I know who she is.
Yes, that dance that she all the dances in that video were choreographed by a girl from Rwanda.
Yeah.
When you think of all the touch, when you think of Jerusalem, I mean that was like so huge last year.
That was
Everyone was doing it.
everyone was
So
doing it.
African music, everyone was doing it. When you think of City Lost by Eddie Kenzo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no words to describe that. And when I keep watching a lot of the entertainment music videos, dance videos, they're wearing African clothing, but footwear is always international or foreign brands. So I was like, why not tap into that space, but use a story that Africans and more even people outside of Africa can connect to.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
universal story.
hmm
Um,
So that's the theme behind the designs that you see, and I show them dancing in front of their house. So I wanted to make sure that it starts with their roots, because often, when especially right now with social media, when the visuals really matter.
hmm.
I wanted to take the village and make it look beautiful, because guess what? It is beautiful.
Oh, it is
That's our root.
beautiful. It is
That's where we
absolutely
come from.
beautiful. But I also think
Yeah.
there's also another thing, this narrative of Africa village. I mean,
Yes.
there's the modern side of Africa that for some reason those in the West are never keen to tap into, because I kind of feel like once it's allowed to flourish, then it means
Oh,
that we are exactly like them. You live if you live in Accra, it's the same
hmm
thing. The hustle is the same as living in New York. There's no difference
yes.
to this thing.
None at all. And the difference is, right, in the US, those historical they preserve those the kind of infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. You go
Yeah.
to, oh, this is downtown historical Accra.
Mm-hmm.
They preserve it. They don't look down upon it. In
Yeah.
fact, they don't even have enough of that infrastructure, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always
So,
the fight against gentrification. Like you find out, like in
yes,
places like San Francisco, and you hear the story of this last bar that existed from the 40s is being knocked down for some glass
yes,
monstrosity. Yeah,
yes, yes. So think about, look at what the pyramids is, right, to Egypt. I mean, if that was knocked down, my goodness.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, again, I suppose it depends on whose interest, because like Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. Way more
Yes,
pyramids than
most people
Egypt.
don't even know that.
Most people don't even know that, the but I suppose, it comes back to how you market something. And
Oh my gosh.
and apart from the fact that there was also a campaign to sort of say that Egypt is not part of Africa because of its advancements and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yes, yes. So, it's actually great that you asked me before about, what are my other skills. Marketing is one of my skills, which is why I'm taking the approach with the shoe brand. So it's not really about shoes. It's really about telling the story of Africa in a creative way and
Mm-hmm.
collaborating with
Mm-hmm.
other creatives to tell that story, because you cannot do it by yourself. It needs to be a collective. It needs to be a movement.
And that's what leads me to my next question, which was how do you select your collaborators? I know you
Okay.
collaborated with Eno Baroni from
Mm-hmm.
Ghana. Who else have
Mm-hmm.
you, and how do you select? What is it about the particular artist that says to you, this is who I need to tap into?
Great. I like brand alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think of how, some of the most successful brands choose who they pick, it's not because, oh, this so and so has a lot of followers, so and so has this look, or whatever it is. I look for, if this if Tombo
Mm-hmm.
was founded by Ino Baroni,
Mm-hmm.
could Tombo found Ino Baroni? Could Tombo be founded by Macadam? I look for a specific reason as to why they would connect to the brand. When I think of Ino Baroni, I'm like, okay. When you think of rap, right? Female rap for a long time has been kept on, has been dismissed, right?
In
But when I
in
listen to her,
in Africa or globally?
oh, I mean, it's global, right?
Mm.
There's levels, right?
Yeah,
It's just more accepted in the U.S., but there's still levels, right?
yeah.
When you talk about, yeah, when you talk about even how much they get paid, how much
Well,
awareness they get,
that gender thing is across everything,
exactly,
not just rap.
exactly, exactly. So to me, Baroni was somebody that I listened to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she just has that spirit
Mm,
that I'm about, that Tombo is about, that everyone that would love what I'm doing is about.
mm,
That's why I picked her. When I picked Macadam, his genre of music is not the most trending type of genre, but I'm like, you know what? That's what the roots is about. That's what I want to make sure I capture, what the roots really is all about. When you look at the art that I'm doing, I want to capture the village. I want to capture the family.
and then
You know those things that,
and the fact that he was also using his language, his
yes, and the
the
traditional
fusion, the
instruments.
traditional language and the instruments. I think you need
Yes,
to.
music.
I think you need to look into somebody like Wiala.
We are all Wiala. Actually, I came across Wiala 3 years ago, and I was creating this artwork for the Afrima show,
Mm-hmm.
and when I made sure I included her because she just stood out, and everyone was asking, "Who is that?" I'm like, "That's Wiala from Ghana."
Yeah,
So you're on track.
Wiala is phenomenal.
I can't wait to come to Ghana.
You have not been to Ghana? Really?
Can you imagine
Can you?
where the place I get my name from? What a shame.
Yes. What other African countries have you been to?
Zimbabwe. I lived in Botswana for 7 years,
Uh-huh.
which is what introduced me to a lot of the South African music.
Yeah.
That I used to hate it. By the way, oh my gosh. Oof.
Really? Why?
Yes, because the songs take forever to start.
You could just skip forward.
I know, but I was like, how? And then when I came to the States, I started missing it. So I was like, oh my gosh, I missed that long music.
Yeah. But it's a bit like even like listening to a fella track. You know, like a
Yes,
fella
yeah.
track can
So,
go on for 20 minutes, but it takes like 6 minutes for it
exactly.
to really even start.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, when I was in Kenya, I had not been exposed to that kind of music. So, by moving there, it helped expose me to it. South Africa, I've been to Namibia. Obviously, I've been to Uganda, Tanzania. Yeah, that's it.
So
Mostly east,
nothing
southern.
east and southern, nothing in West Africa.
Uh, yes. So when it's West Africa, my first stop will be Africa Global Radio. Do we have a deal?
Yes, you have a deal.
All right.
And then you also need to hit Niger. You cannot come
Yes,
to
because
West
I
Africa.
do plan to come and do some launches of Tombo in different countries. So all this stuff that I'm talking about taking it global, I want to physically take it global.
In fact, I something I think I should have asked you should have probably been one of the first questions I asked you. What does tombo mean?
It's a nickname I got from one of my friends that I play basketball with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so one time an argument broke out because we typically write our names on the board when we play basketball so that like the next five who's up next. And an argument broke out, and one day I put Edem, and they're like, "So who's Edem?" I'm like, "That's me." They're like, "Ah, man, you Tombo, you not Edem."
Was this in the
So
U.S.?
yes, in the U.S., yes. So they were shortening for Mutombo.
He's a basketball player, really tall guy.
Yes, 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 yes. So
We
they just took that and just called me Tombo.
we also have a spoken word artist here in Ghana called Motombo was the name that he took. He's very tall and very dark. So I think that was his
Really, yeah,
inspiration. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess I fit the name. So I was trying to come up with a name for the brand, and one of my friends was like, "Why don't you call it Tombo?" And they're like, "Nah." And then I was like, you know what? It does have a nice ring to it.
It actually sounds very East African.
It does.
It does sound very East African because Tombo, I don't think I would really hear it in West Africa, but it's something that I could definitely see coming from the eastern southern part of our. What about tapping into, because usually like music, we always think of like Southern Africa, East Africa, West Africa. What about
Mhm.
Northern Africa?
What about what? Northern Africa?
Yeah, does the likes of Morocco and Algeria, etc.,
Egypt,
attract you?
Egypt,
Uh-huh.
Egypt, Morocco. Yes, you're right. Yeah. So there is an artist that I've already started talking to. I can't say the name yet,
Of course, no problem.
but Weekend Waka was more Afrobeats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Banfi Ende is more East African
Mm-hmm.
traditional
Mm-hmm.
Nyatete music.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have piano coming up.
Amapiano, which
I
is
have
like really
Kuduro.
big at the moment, isn't it?
Yes,
They play
yes.
because
I have Kud.
you see so many videos on YouTube where they play it and then school kids just go wild.
Exactly. I have Kuduro coming up. That's from Angola,
Mm-hmm.
right? I definitely need to work on Dombolo from Central Africa. I need to go, learn more about some of the genres in Morocco, like you're saying.
And
All those
and
countries in Morocco, Egypt.
and even these countries like Mali, Chad, and Niger, because of the Islamic
Hmm.
influence, and then their sort
Hmm.
of traditional griot style music
Hmm.
would
So
be.
yeah, I do plan to collaborate with as many people and many genres as I can that align with the brand in terms of
Mm-hmm.
message.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So this is I even have a reggae song done already. So
Okay.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
so your thing is it just with the African continent, or would you also expand into the diaspora? You mentioned reggae, so immediately I thought Jamaica, um,
Jamaica, yes.
Haiti, because when you go to those places, or even when you go to like the northeast of Brazil, which has a huge
Hmm.
black population, you have like
Yes.
very strong Yoruba influence through candomblé and the orishas. You know, you get them all across the diaspora, which I think would might be interesting for you to look at too.
Absolutely. My palate is wide open, right?
Yep.
So long as if you got the right flavor, you on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, like for instance, I know when I lived in Brazil, like samba reggae was really huge, and they done this really nice fusion of samba and reggae, and it's
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
absolutely amazing. You just can't keep still once it gets going. So,
Yes. I was even surprised like cuz I haven't been there about how much they loved African music in Colombia. I was like, "What?"
yeah, well, if you look at the history, is very
Yes.
is it goes without saying that
Mm-hmm.
yeah. um
Yep, it sure
o-
does.
Obviously, usually the narrative that they want to sell is one thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
often not about black people, but you'll find
Yes.
out, I mean, in the same thing with Nicaragua and so Venezuela, all the music, is black oriented, you know. But then
Yes, I just love how you kept going back to the narrative that's being sold. You know, that's so important, right? Because it forms opinions and perceptions which end up becoming reality that are just false.
and worse than that is, for instance, like you can watch the news here, and the news is just regurgitated from what maybe CNN or the major Western. So even though we are doing news, we are maintaining the narrative. We are not in a position to have the African Al Jazeera or the African CNN that gives the story out from the African, you know, perspective. And so I think
Yeah.
what you're doing and what others like you are doing is really important, because we have to start
Hmm.
telling the stories ourselves.
Yep, yep. And because guess what? Nobody's going to tell it for you
Oh, they're gonna tell it to their advantage. I mean, as
to
the
their advantage.
as what's the proverb? If your mouth is in somebody's kitchen, there's a proverb about your mouth being in somebody's kitchen. Then you know there's no way you can ever be free. And yeah.
I like that.
So you've mentioned, and I'm sure this is part
Hmm.
of your 30-year dream plan of setting
Hmm.
up an arts academy on the continent, so that others
Yes.
wishing to fulfill their artistic dreams don't have to leave the continent. Question:
Hmm.
what does that
Hmm.
academy look like? And how is it
Hmm.
going to be different from the arts institutions that are already operating in various countries? And then
Okay.
finally, what needs to happen
Hmm.
with mindset shift, or what needs to happen? What mindset needs shifts need to happen for when
Hmm.
the artists finish at the academy, they are able to sustain themselves through their art?
Okay. Great questions. All right. So, what is it going to look like? Number one, the use of technology allows you to reach more people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm starting out by doing tutorials online, right? So that way I can start. I already have a head start in that regard,
Mm-hmm.
right? How best can I communicate something to somebody who wants to learn it at an early stage? Like myself, when I saw that drawing that my neighbor did, it was
Yeah.
just a piece of paper that I had to physically see.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, somebody can just run into it online and get inspired by it, right? Because I have met people that told me I inspired them 16 years ago to do art that I didn't even know that I inspired them,
Yeah.
right? So number one is opening up the floodgates to using technology to reach more people, right? And find a way to get people certified who may not be able to afford going to a full-time university, right? There is so much education on YouTube for free
Yeah.
that a lot more people like myself who want to teach and educate can start doing. So
And that's why I mentioned mindset, because
yes.
I have people I know who will
Hmm.
send me a WhatsApp and ask
Hmm.
me a question,
Hmm.
and my reply to them is Google is your friend. The WhatsApp
Oh
they
yes.
sent me, they could have gone to Google, but it's never the first thing that they think of.
Okay. Great. All right. Secondly, mind shift, right?
Yeah.
T- I didn't go to fashion school, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have a shoe brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's just dedication. That's the mind shift that we have to break,
But do
right?
you do?
Is
Sorry, what did your parents do?
go ahead. Oh, my dad is a doctor and my mom is a teacher.
There. So the level of exposure, because
Hmm.
you can't be what you can't see.
Yes.
And so having a teacher and a doctor as parents,
Hmm.
in most cases, is very different to having a small scale farmer and a petty trader as
Yes.
parents.
Absolutely, I agree. So, I think the other, the mind shift that I was alluding to is once we've gotten over the hurdle of making the information available,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to find those pockets of reaching the youth and even people at a much younger age. How do we reach them at a younger age to expose them to it, to the information that's out there, right? And
Do you think any African government, I mean, including our country, the education
uh-huh.
system for the youth has really been messed around with the number of years a segment would last, to double track systems, to all kinds of things, because
Hmm.
as artists there is
Hmm.
art is always ready to disrupt the status quo.
Yes.
And when you have leaderships, and let's talk about Africa, when you have leaderships who the status quo is what they want to maintain because it is to their
Yeah.
benefit. And like as you're talking about the mind shift, the education system is geared up to process. It's like a factory to process people in a particular way. How do we disrupt that?
Yep. Wow. That's that's a global challenge. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the diaspora, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just an African problem.
Yeah.
I think um, this is just my best understanding of how to disrupt that. You need either a successful brand, business, or person
Mm-hmm.
that people will be willing to um, listen to, right? And follow their lead versus the status quo, because the gateholders will always want to keep it as is because that's paying their bills, right?
Exactly.
They don't want it to mess with,
They're
don't mess with my pocket.
and my holidays in Dubai and my house in Martha's Vineyard or wherever.
It's I'm telling you, it's true. But you see, like what when I talked about 30 years from today,
Yeah.
you see how Apple disrupted the market to where
Mm-hmm.
they dictate their terms, and they have a following, and people believe in what they do so much that just that in itself inspires somebody else to want to become like them.
Yeah.
We need to get to that.
Yeah.
That's going to take massive success. Unfortunately, that will have to disrupt the status quo, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's what needs to happen. Otherwise, it's going to stay just like is, and we're going to be singing the same song over and over again.
Mm.
So to me, it's about, first of all, we need to make the information available, and then find ways to, people like myself can start small, right?
Mm-hmm.
Build an art academy.
Is the
People who
art
want to get into
academy
that field.
is the art
Hmm?
academy going to be a physical structure? Because when you talked about using the internet, is it going to be physical? Is it going to
Yeah,
be virtual, or a mixture of both?
both. It has to be both. It has to
Mm.
be both.
Mm-hmm.
There's still something, there's still something magical about physical that will never go away. That's
Yeah.
that's even you can scale and reach more people online, but physical, we're still social creatures. That still needs to exist.
Yeah.
But just through that, if you get one person posting what they learned online, somebody else shares what they learned online, you get to reach more people. And right now, with more people being connected to the internet in Africa, right? That's
Yes.
another problem we need to solve, right?
Yeah. Especially to the rural areas, because, for instance,
Yes.
somewhere like Ghana, um,
Hmm.
internet penetration, for instance, in Accra, is massive.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
you go to my hometown in the eastern region, and it's a completely different
Yeah,
story.
exactly. So there's that challenge as well.
Yeah.
There's the embrace of technology that needs to happen as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, once you have it, how can you use it? Because, like you said, Google is your friend. Everything is on there. It just takes effort.
Yes. And there's even Google Scholar. So if you're not interested in just the regular stuff, you can go
Mhm.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive challenge, but I'm up for it.
But that's the whole point. When challenges are
Hmm.
huge, that's where the excitement is. It's like, how am I gonna crack this thing?
Exactly. I always look at everything as a blank canvas. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I call it the nightmare stage. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's just staring at me like, make me beautiful.
But the other thing too is people listening shouldn't also be deceived that there are dark places that you will go to in the aim of achieving dreams. It's not just a simple walk in the picnic, because I think
Mm,
like my coach said to me that growth happens in the valleys. It's
mm,
when you're down in those places that growth really happens. It's not when you're at the peak. And I think maybe the
yeah,
other analogy is the same, is the iceberg thing, because I could have been sitting or even just listening to you. It sounds amazing. It sounds like it's so effortless.
no, it's not.
It's not, so
No,
that's what I just want people to understand, that yes, you've given us
you
the
remember in
beauty of
2000
it.
and
Mm-hmm.
remember in 2009 when the economy crashed, when the U.S. economy crashed.
Yes.
Yep, I was one of the people that was affected by it.
Mm-hmm. How did it impact
Yes.
you?
Oh, the company I worked for went bankrupt.
Okay. And
Totally, yep. There were seven. There were. Think about this. The company used to generate $700 million a year. It went to zero. Okay, so I had to pick up myself and say, what am I gonna do now? Now at that time, nobody was hiring.
mm-hmm.
Okay, because the economy is going down. So you got to take care of yourself. So I picked up myself and I talked to my cousin who lived in Texas because at the time I lived in Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and he I asked him, can I move in with you so I can get myself situated? I moved to Texas and I started just finding small little jobs. Hey, do you need a flyer for your do you need a flyer for your event? Do you need a flyer for this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need a flyer? Okay, I can do websites too. Oh, okay. Well, then I started doing it for small businesses. Slowly, I just built a client base, but I had to start from zero.
But there's also a level of sort of confidence and self-belief that is completely necessary for this, because I
Yes.
can
Hmm.
imagine another person could have been a company, you're earning good salary, boom, everything just comes crashing around your ears. Initially,
Hmm.
one of the is like the why me, let me curl up on the
Yes.
sofa and watch daytime soap for a bit,
Mhm.
while
Yeah.
I commiserate with myself.
No, it was hard. You out there making good money. The next thing they come, they take your car. You don't have it. How do you get around?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to find a way.
Yeah, because I mean, there are some cities, places in the US that if you do not have a car, it's like hell
Oh,
to get
you're in
around.
trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And people shouldn't just think, oh, because you have a car, you're living good. The U.S. is it's hella expensive.
And a
Okay,
lot of
you
people
have to
sleeping
pay
in
for
their
everything.
cars. A lot of people
Yes,
sleeping in their cars.
you have to pay for every single little thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is good because you get a lot of people, maybe they're here and things are not going well for them, and again, the narrative, the way America portrays itself via movies and via the TV is pure perfection. You will not think there
Uh,
was a single overweight person in the US.
please.
Uh-huh, based on what we watch on. So is this thing of using the media to create their
Hmm.
narrative. And of course,
Yeah.
somebody's sitting somewhere and thinking, damn, yeah, let me get myself to America and everything is going to be fine. But as you've
Nope.
stated, it's not. It takes a
You
lot.
come here, people are struggling,
Yeah.
just like back home. It's just struggling in a different way, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still hard because Most people in America live paycheck to paycheck.
Yes. That's what I
Yeah.
was going to ask you. How much did you have saved before your job vanished
Oh,
from?
at that time,
Yeah.
not much. At
Yeah.
that time, because I had just graduated, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was my first job after college,
Mm.
and I had just worked there for just a year, so I didn't have much saved.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was, I just graduated. I got a nice job. I got myself a nice car.
Of
I was
course.
fine,
Yeah. You're.
no obligations. I don't have student debt. I'm good.
Yeah.
Then boom, out of nowhere.
The carpet just got yanked from under your feet, and then
Yes,
you
and
just.
I remember one of this somebody that I knew was laughing at me. That, oh my gosh, they took your car, ha ha ha, and I was like, wow, okay,
Well, when people's lives look easy,
yeah,
when there's a little downfall, it gives certain pleasure to to people who think that because
yeah,
as you said, obviously once you're doing what you love and the things are achieving, you focus on the positives. And so when
hmm
you talk about it, that's how you talk about it. And so it
hmm
can give the impression that there were no hardships, but clearly there has to be
no,
hardships for you to
oh yeah,
achieve.
yes, absolutely, and so I just slowly built myself up from that point, and I know that it could happen again,
Mm?
right? But I know that I'll be able to pick myself up
Up,
again because
exactly. So with the
I've
collab
I've, I've worked at my skill and I'm good.
so with the collaborations, obviously you reach out to people. Do people reach out to you?
Yes, more
Okay.
people have started reaching out now, right?
Excellent.
You know how life works. Whenever you're doing something, people are just watching. They're like, what is this person doing? What are they
Yes.
up to? What are they
Yeah.
doing? And then once they start seeing
Something.
the success,
Yeah. Then
they're
they.
like, oh, now I want to be part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
sometimes it's the same people you reached out to who ignored you.
Oh, that one is normal. That is a normal for our part here in our part of the world. That is a normal thing. Nobody ha
Yes,
they're just waiting for the bandwagon to start moving so that they
I
can
know.
jump on it. That's all it's about. So you know something, give us your social media handles so that people can go see your work, and maybe some
Okay,
young up and coming musicians might say, yeah, let me just reach out to this guy. Maybe I've got what he's looking for.
absolutely. Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
at mytombos. That's MyTombos. Same as Twitter. Same as Facebook. On TikTok as well. Yeah. And my personal one is Edem Jimbo. That's EDEMJIMBO.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking to collaborate with anyone interested in anything creative. And thank you so much for this opportunity. It really means a lot to me
Oh,
that
thank
um,
you. Thank you for being
that
so open and generous with yourself
mhm.
to us.
Yes, and I will. And when I do eventually do a collab with Wiala, it's gonna happen. I will let her know where the motivation came from.
No, Wiala is at me. I will scream Wiala's name wherever she is. Absolutely amazing. She really is an
Yes,
incredible artist. So she has to be
absolutely.
bigged up wherever. Edem, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us. This has been
Okay.
an amazing. It's been. I knew it was going to be an exciting conversation.
Okay. Good. I'm glad it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right.
So, thank you very much, and we look forward to you coming to Ghana and being in the
Absolutely.
studio with us here.
I
And
will.
then,
I will definitely. I give you my word. I'm just kind of waiting for the world to open up a little more,
yes,
but I will come and you will be part of my documentary. That I know for sure.
excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I hope everybody
Thank you.
listening out there also had an amazing enjoyed the conversation. Our proverb today was having a good conversation is like having riches, and something that has proven to be true throughout this conversation with Edem Jimbo. In fact, the conversation segment of Arts Africa is the embodiment of today's episode. It doesn't matter who the person is or who they are or where they've been. Everybody has a nugget of wisdom we can all learn from. As I said, it's also important to listen to other perspectives, but when you open your mind to other points of view, having a discussion where you listen and learn and also give your point of view, you also get to see a new perspective to something which is enriching, because you learn and you gain wisdom. That's another form of wealth that you can apply everywhere else. I mean, just talking to Edem, you know, it's given me even more courage to sort of encouragement to persist with the things, you know, that I'm doing, because it's like he's excited by everything. He's tapping into everything. He has a vision. He has a plan. This is really exciting. And then, you know, it spurs me on. I've also learned new music to check out, so that's also really, really, really exciting. Again, as per the proverb, nobody knows everything, but everybody knows something. So having a good conversation is like having riches. You learn something new. Now, the people who spring to mind are these are TV and radio pundits, especially the political ones. You've seen them. You tune into the radio station or onto the TV program and all you hear is shouting. Everybody is talking, nobody is listening, and the host of the show can't or is unwilling to bring order. So they are of no use to anybody listening or watching, because we can't learn anything. They're all shouting. One starts, somebody interrupts them, and away they go until the end of the show. And so let's treat everyone as if we can learn from them. And until they prove us wrong, we'll definitely learn something. As always, a big thank you all for taking your time to tune in. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Much love to my techie, Danny, who was running around and making sure everything was running smoothly. And if it wasn't, he was getting it back up and running as quickly as possible. Is great, because he's also super excited about his job. And even if there's a glitch, his first thing is, I'm going to resolve it. And he always does. We are on africaglobalradio.com. On Twitter and Instagram, we are at AF Global Radio. Facebook, Africa Global Radio. And of course, you can send us a WhatsApp on +233 2070 4680. For those who can tune into W93.5 FM, please do. They are our partner station in WA in the Upper West region. That's W93.5 FM in WA in the Upper West region. So please do tune into them if you can catch the station. Arts Africa is brought to you by Africa Global Radio. My name is Alba K. Sumprim. I am the host of the Arts Africa show on Africa Global Radio, and I am signing out with Catchy Catchy. This is beautiful. It's Efia and, you know, a bunch of other artists, but the nice thing is there's a nice classical fusion. So make sure you join us again next Saturday at 12 p.m. sharp, where we're going to have another exciting artist who is going to open up their world to us. So have a wonderful weekend, and we'll hear from you next week. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and share.